My name's Iain Davidson. I'm the Head of Enterprise Products for Shaw, based here in Guernsey. And my job entails being responsible for any product that we sell to businesses, be they small, medium or large, and that can go from a cable all the way up to cloud services, mobile phones, anything that a business might need for them to operate successfully.
And how long have you worked for Shaw, and how has the technology that you're selling to businesses changed in that time?
So I haven't been there too long. I've only been there 3 years, almost 3 years next week. And even in that short time, the technology has changed quite a lot.
Yeah.
So you'll be aware of the fibre rollout that Shaw's a major part of across the whole of Guernsey. That's changed the way that we will provide phone systems to businesses. So traditionally they'll use a copper line. So now we'll put everything over the fibre. Eventually we will pull out as much of the copper as possible. There will be copper we can't pull out because it's just too difficult and too expensive. But then we've got the cloud services. Our cloud services has grown massively, even in the 3 years I've been there, where it's probably twice the size of what we offer and provide to our customers we did when I arrived. And then we come up with other products. So we're getting very big in Microsoft Teams is obviously big for lots and lots of companies. And we've just launched what we call Teams Telephony. So your Teams app on your laptop or your phone, you use that as your communication device, so you get your phone calls into there. So you don't need a desk phone if you don't want one. And because COVID proved to people you can work in that way without a phone, a lot of businesses are now looking at getting rid of their traditional PBXs, their telephone exchanges, and moving to Teams Telephony. And there are lots of other telephony solutions as well. It's not just Teams. You've got WebEx, you've got Zoom. We can provide connectivity for all of those.
And in terms of that connectivity then, I mean, you mentioned COVID then, so it's 5 years, I think, probably this week since Guernsey went into lockdown. Yeah. So you joined Shaw after COVID, effectively, or after the lockdowns and that period of time had ended. But by then people were all about working remotely, working in different ways, making use, as you said, of things like Teams.
Yeah, it was a big change. I mean, I was in a typical Guernsey finance-based company, and I was in charge of operations infrastructure. So the biggest problem we had was getting everybody working from home in a very short space of time, which luckily we managed to do within 2.5 days, 180 staff. But then we still had offices all around the world that were also all in lockdown, so we had to look after them as well. So that made a massive change to the way we all worked, and actually people's options to how they want to work. So we know a lot of people like to work from home or hybrid working, so work from home when it suits, or if the company's happy with them to do that. Some like it, some don't. We have quite a flexible working policy at Shaw, where if we need to work from home, we can do, if there's a reason for it. But I prefer to be in the office. I like to hear what people are talking about, what people are asking, what's going on. I think you're more in touch with the vibe in the office. And because I sit with the sales team, I can hear what they're talking to their customers, what their customers are asking. So I can hear them say, oh, no, I don't think we do that, at which point I'll run across and say, don't do what, sorry? We might do. Let's have a chat. Let's see what we can do.
Well, that's really interesting then, because I'm guessing, so the things that you discussed at your previous place of employment, where you were able to turn things around to that hybrid way of working so quickly, that's now the norm.
Oh, absolutely.
People expect that in every workplace, don't they? And in terms of what Shaw is offering, when the sales team get that phone call saying, can you do this? I guess it's a case of, well, we probably can.
Yeah, and there's not many things, I can't think of anything. I mean, I've been there 3 years now. I can't think of anything where a customer said to us, we'd like to do this, or can you do that? And we might not have that product readily available, but then we'll go away and have a look around, obviously search the web, talk to other businesses, see if they've done it in a different way. Obviously we've got offices in all 3 Channel Islands, see if that's come up anywhere else. And if it's viable and we can do it and the customer wants it, then we've brought in quite a few products, sometimes quite niche, which you probably wouldn't even mention to other companies, because you think, well, nobody's ever going to need that, particularly to that company or the way they work and what they do. But we're always there. At the end of the day, we're very customer centric. So if a customer needs, we're there to help. So if a customer's got a problem, we'll try and find a solution to it.
Yeah, so it seems like all the new services are being driven then by that customer demand and customers' ideas. Yeah,
and that is a lot of customer ideas. Obviously, we have our own ideas, and we could look at market trends. I go to a lot of shows, predominantly tend to be in London and other places occasionally, and you see what's coming out in the industry and around the world. And you think, will that fit into the Channel Islands and the Isle of Man? Because obviously we're quite niche in what we do over here as well. especially because obviously all three islands are quite heavily finance based. So you're probably not looking at things like IoT, Internet of Things, because actually that's more around sort of like robotics, the industry, driverless cars. But there's still cases for that over here. So things like lampposts. How do you switch lampposts on and off all the time?
Wow, okay.
So why not just put a SIM card in it and then you can control it centrally? It's big in the UK now, is water meters. So where traditionally they use a radio network, well that radio network is now years and years old, and it's very expensive to run, so they're trying to get rid of it. So what you do is you have a smart water meter that has a SIM card in it. So as long as the mobile network, and most of the UK is very well covered with mobile networks, and obviously the islands are as well, then that makes a difference. So there's your sort of Internet of Things. It's a smart water meter. So it's little things like that where you find those niche business cases. Or the customer comes to us. And in both of those instances, that's where the customers come to us and say, look, we've got this problem.
Yeah.
How could we get around it? And we said, well, can you do this? Well, we can do that. Okay, well, let's do it that way.
And it's all about making things easier for the end user.
Yeah, and obviously it's great for your water meter, because then your water meter is really up to date, so you're not getting overcharged, or like a lot of people are not on water meters. So if you go on a water meter, actually most households actually find they see their water bills reduced because they're only paying for what they use and not a average for a 4-bedroomed house. Because they just look at your house size, they don't look how many people's in there. That's a 4-bedroom house, therefore on average you use this amount of water. But it might only be 2 people living there, kids might have moved away or whatever. So.
Yeah. That's fascinating. So if we can focus in then on the cloud, so a mythical topic.
The cloud.
Yeah, but
that everybody knows. Everybody
knows,
we all use it. We all use it. There's probably not many people. Even my parents use the cloud. My parents were in their 80s, and they used the cloud. They didn't know what they were using, to be honest. It was the cloud. So I mean, from a technical perspective, the cloud is just a mesh of computers and network and storage, which sits in data centres all over the world. Some of these data centres are absolutely enormous. I mean, the size of football pitches and everything like that. And there's been lots of criticism of the amount of water they use, the amount of power they use, and all that sort of thing. But it's just where you store data, or you consume the cloud, or you store your data, or you actually do your work in the cloud. So it is just a hodgepodge, very technical, non-technical term, of just services that sit in data centres, which you then access via the internet.
Okay, and in terms of, I mean, you used your parents there as an example, but can you give some examples of how are we, the public, using the cloud on a daily basis then without even knowing it?
If you've got a smartphone, you're using the cloud, because if you've got any smartphone, you've got an account on that phone to run it, and it will log into the cloud. It will be downloaded. You'll have apps on your phone. Yeah. If you've got apps on your phone, then you're definitely using the cloud, because most 99.9% of apps are cloud-based. It's just you've just got a tiny portion on your phone. All your data is transmitted between your app, maybe doing something on your phone, but storing the data in the cloud. Most of us use email. Yeah. Emails tends to be, if you're using Google, Gmail, Microsoft 365, that's all cloud-based. Yeah. iDrive, iCloud, Google Drive, again, all very much cloud-based services. Netflix, any streaming services, all cloud-based.
And in terms of businesses then, so the examples there, Netflix, for example, is mainly for people's personal use. Consumer. You did use emails, though, there as an example.
Yeah, and
for businesses, they're using the cloud as well on a daily basis.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of businesses are looking at. There was a big surge probably 6 or 7 years ago where everyone was like, everything has to be in the cloud, everything has to be in the cloud. That's starting to rail back a little bit now, where people are going to what we call multi-cloud. So you might have, a lot of companies will have servers or infrastructure in their buildings or in a data center that they own and run, so actual physical hardware where they run maybe their business critical applications. But they also might have some more of their less business critical, or they need a different type of resource, so they might run it in a private cloud. And then they might just use what we call public cloud, so things like Amazon Web Services, Azure, IBM have their own version, and you've got Google Cloud. So that tends to be infrastructure in the cloud, where a company would buy resources, may even build computers, build servers, virtual servers in the cloud, and run their applications on that. So you've got you've got public cloud, which we all use. That's your Azure, that's your Amazon. Yeah. And then you've got private clouds, where it's exactly the same, but it's owned by the company. So they run it. It's their cloud. They control what's in there, but it's very much a cloud service and not just hardware. And then you've got sort of multi-cloud, where you've got a mixture of them all. I mean, we've got our own, what we call it a public cloud, but it's a public cloud for Shaw customers. So they can, it works exactly the same as using Azure or Amazon web services, but it's based here in the Channel Islands.
Okay.
So companies like that idea because then they know exactly where their data is. So obviously for some people, regulatory reasons or even just business reasons, they want to keep their data within their jurisdiction. And a lot of that is tends to be mostly legal and finance, because obviously they're quite heavily regulated. So they want to know where their data is. They want it sort of almost protected, so they can go there. They can almost touch it, so to speak, and they have that sort of confidence that they know exactly where their data is and that they control access to it.
And you mentioned before, obviously, the finance sector is so important for Guernsey's economy and the legal sector as well, as you said. But Shaw obviously offers these services to smaller businesses as well, or other industries as well.
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, they are the big industries in all three islands.
And they support other industries,
and they support lots of other. I mean, obviously, finance needs all the legal industry as well to go with it, but also needs all the other stuff around it, the construction industry. And we have customers probably across every type of industry on all three islands. Even from sort of one-man plumber, Joe, he'll have his smartphone, but he might have an app that does all his invoicing, which will be based in the cloud. So he needs that connectivity. So our network that we run, obviously, originally we started here in Guernsey, so we are the incumbents. We own the network in Guernsey, but we do have portions of network in both Jersey and in the Isle of Man, tend to be centred around the main areas, so St Helier in Jersey and sort of Douglas and Ramsey being the two big areas in the Isle of Man. So we can offer our Shaw network services, but obviously we can then work with the other operators to provide those services to customers who may just want, they may be a Shaw customer, but they may be opening an office in Jersey, but they want to stay with us. So we work with other operators to make sure that they still get the same service.
Okay. And in terms of, so we've spoken about the benefits, are there any risks for businesses in using the cloud?
There's always risks with using it. I mean, there's the risks for consumers. I mean, you're so often told about, phishing, emails, scams, all that sort of stuff. You've got to be just as careful, probably even more careful in business than in your personal life, because obviously there might be more at risk. If you get compromised in a business, that may have a huge financial, even reputational risk to a business than somebody losing money through a scam, horrifying though it is. So
it's normally quite limited in that sense.
So you've still got to be very careful. So there's lots of things you can do. I mean, the cloud in itself, from the major providers, is very, very secure. And all companies who provide cloud services spend a lot of time and money and resources making sure it's as secure as you can make it. And that things, obviously the obvious things like the firewalls and things like that you have to have in place. But it's things like just keeping it up to date. So patching, you hear about the things that happened. There was the CrowdStrike one recently, which was a bad patch. That had global repercussions for so many companies, and that was just a patch that went wrong. And that can happen. So you have to keep all your systems up to date and patched and protected. But there's other things you can do. So multi-factor, everybody's probably heard of multi-factor authentication. So you have a little app that you then go into that website, but then you have to get your phone out to prove that you are who you are, because it's your phone. Only you can unlock it if you've got Face ID or using a PIN or a password. So there's using that side of it. There's also protecting your data as well. So making sure that only the people that genuinely need to access it do access it. I think it's called role-based access. So only the people that actually need to access it. So that's another way to protect your data. And backups. I mean, most people who consumers never think of backups. Because I work in IT, I have backups of all my data because that's what I've always done, and I still do it now. So I keep all my data on my laptop, but I have it all stored in the cloud. So if I ever lose my laptop breaks, I've not lost any data. And it's a very simple thing to do. Some people just store everything in the cloud and don't store anything locally. That's equally as good, but the problem is, and clouds are very, very secure and very well protected, and they don't tend to go down very often. But what people don't realise is when you store your data in your iCloud, if you're a big Apple user, that is the only copy of it. Apple don't back that up to another place for you. So it's actually, in some instances, for me, I will always have a local copy of that, so that if anything ever did happen to the cloud, then I've still got my own local copy of it. So there's and they're not, and that's equivalent for individuals as businesses. I mean, two-factor authentication. There's not probably many businesses now that if they haven't got it already, they're thinking about it. it's easy to do, it's easy to implement, and it just adds another layer of security. So that if somebody manages to steal your laptop without the all right, you can get a password. The password can be cracked, but if you've got a second layer of security with multi-factor, you've got to have that second device and be able to get into another device to authenticate the first device. So it's just a better way to look after your data.
Well, so I was thinking as you first started talking about asking you how secure is the cloud, but really it's as secure as you can make it yourself.
So I mean, the cloud providers, so if you look at Microsoft actually employ more security people than any other company in the world, but they're not a security company.
Yeah.
But they have a lot of security products, but obviously Azure is probably the biggest cloud in the world. I mean, that's where Microsoft 365 sits, that's Teams, that's Office, all that sort of stuff, which is still the most popular Office productivity suite there is. And obviously Teams has gone absolutely global, especially during the pandemic. Lots of people signed. Microsoft very cleverly offered Teams for free during the pandemic, and then of course once you've got it, people are not going to get rid of it because they've got so used to using it. It becomes part of your daily life. And I probably spend more time chatting to people, communicating with people on Teams than I do with email anymore.
Yeah.
And email is like, why do you send me email? Just send me a Teams. It's quick, it's easy. It's just like WhatsApp for business, isn't it? But so those companies spend a huge amount of money and resources protecting the cloud. But that doesn't mean that absolves you of your responsibility to protect your data in the cloud. So a typical thing you do, if you're using resources in Azure, you might build a virtual server to run your company's application in the cloud. So that's your virtual server. But that virtual server will have its own vulnerabilities, which you need to look after. Microsoft not going to look after it for you. They're just giving you a platform to run your server on. So you're still responsible for patching it, making sure that make the security you need around it. So you've got to have your rules of who can access it and look after it. And you still need to back it up, because even with the best will in the world, something could still go wrong on the server. The infrastructure is still running, nothing wrong with that, but your server could have a problem, and then you could lose all your data. If you haven't got a backup, then what do you do? So the rules still apply whether you're using physical hardware, as we all used to do, as in the cloud. The cloud is just replaces that physical hardware that you don't need to have in your server room on your building. Because for most people it's more cost effective, because you don't have to buy it, you don't have to replace it, you don't have to maintain it, you don't have to run it. You just consume what's in the cloud, and then you store your data there, and you use all the services that are available. And there are thousands and thousands. Last time I looked, something like 6,500 different products in Microsoft Azure, ranging from stuff that probably a very small number of people use to something that nearly every company in the world could use on day one. And it's so easy to use as well.
Well, that was going to be my next question. How easy is it to use these things? You make it sound so easy, but other people...
we all use it every day without realising we use it. So that's how easy it is. Yeah. So you buy a smartphone, you buy whether it's an Android phone or an Apple phone. As soon as you log that in, even if you've never used one before, you'll be asked to create an account. Yes. That's the first thing to do. So as soon as you've done that, you've created an account in the cloud. Therefore, you're using the cloud. That's how easy it is. Yeah. And a lot of services, even for businesses, is exactly the same. So things like, Azure, you could log into Azure, to go to the Microsoft website, Azure, say, I want to use an Azure service. I'd like to build a virtual server. I might not know what I'm doing. I'm going to build one anyway. And literally, you just log in, you fill out all the details, obviously payment and everything else, and then you can start consuming Azure services. Yeah. It is as simple. It's literally sign up and use it. And that goes for things like Salesforce. All these models are a lot of subscription. So you sign up from so you only pay for what you use. So with Salesforce, I think it's a monthly cycle. With business versions of Office, the Office suite, M365, you pay on a monthly basis. So if you decide for 6 months, I don't need that particular package anymore, you cancel it, you stop paying for it. Yeah. Most of us, that's the big risk, especially for consumers. You forget to cancel your subscriptions. It's a bit like your gym membership when you sign up in January and you stop going in February and you're still playing in December. Yeah. And then you think, I should really go back to the gym. And so many companies make a lot of money out of people not cancelling their subscriptions. So but it's so easy to use. And they make it easy. And it's always been a criticism of a lot of cloud services. It's often more difficult to get out than it is to get in, because they don't want you to leave. Yeah. And if you've ever had to deal with the satellite TV provider Sky, trying to cancel some of them is that they work so hard to keep you on board, because they don't want to lose you as a subscriber. Even if you're not even using half your package, they will still make all sorts of deals and stuff to keep you in. And that's often where people just have to be a bit harsh. And cloud service is the same, is you just want to stop, but it actually be more difficult to get out than it is to get in.